There is a part of Bitcoin that most people never think about, but without it, none of the rest of it works. It's called a node, and it's the mechanism that actually enforces Bitcoin's rules. Not miners, not developers, not any company. Nodes. Most explanations either skip over this entirely or go so deep into technical detail that they lose you after the first paragraph. So here's what actually matters: what a node is, what it does, and whether you as a beginner need to run one. That last question has a clearer answer than most people expect. I'm Sats, and today we're making Bitcoin nodes actually make sense. Let's keep it simple. Let's start with the simplest possible definition. A Bitcoin node is a computer that runs the Bitcoin software and maintains a complete copy of the blockchain. That's it. Any computer, anywhere in the world, running the Bitcoin core software and storing the full transaction history of Bitcoin is a node. Right now, there are thousands of these nodes running across the world, in homes, in data centers, on old laptops, on small devices the size of a paperback book. Each one holds the same complete record of every Bitcoin transaction ever made. And each one independently verifies every new transaction and every new block against the rules of the Bitcoin protocol. Now, this is the part most explanations rush past, and it's the part that actually matters. Nodes are how Bitcoin enforces its own rules without anyone being in charge. Think about what that means for a moment. There is no Bitcoin headquarters, no CEO, no committee that decides what is and isn't a valid transaction. The rules of Bitcoin, the fixed supply of 21 million, the block size limit, the proof of work requirement, are enforced by every node on the network simultaneously. If a miner tries to create new Bitcoin that violates the supply schedule, every node in the network rejects it. If a transaction tries to spend Bitcoin that doesn't exist, every node rejects it. No single authority decides. The network decides collectively by consensus. This is what decentralization actually means in practice. Not just that Bitcoin is stored in lots of places, but that the rules themselves are enforced by thousands of independent participants, each of whom is running the same verification process and will reject anything that doesn't comply. Now here's a distinction that trips a lot of people up, and it's worth getting clear on. What's the difference between a node and a miner? Miners and nodes are related, but they are not the same thing. Miners do the computationally intensive work of adding new blocks to the blockchain. They compete to solve the puzzle, and the winner adds the next block and earns the block reward. Mining requires significant hardware and energy. Nodes verify that everything miners produce follows the rules. They don't add blocks, they check blocks. And crucially, if a miner produces a block that breaks the rules, the nodes reject it regardless of how much mining power went into creating it. Miners do the work. Nodes enforce the standards. Both are essential. Neither controls the other. Now for the question most beginners are actually here for, and this is where the answer might surprise you. Do you need to run a node? Honest answer. Probably not right now. And here's why that's okay. Most beginners interact with Bitcoin through a wallet connected to someone else's node, typically the exchange or wallet provider's infrastructure. Your transactions are verified, your balance is accurate, and everything works correctly without you running your own node. The network functions fine for you as a user. Running your own node becomes meaningful when you want to verify your own transactions independently, without trusting any third party's infrastructure. Instead of asking a company's server whether a transaction went through, your node checks the blockchain directly and tells you itself. That is a genuine increase in sovereignty. You are not trusting anyone's data, you are verifying it yourself. For someone holding a small amount of Bitcoin and still learning the basics, that level of self-verification is not necessary yet. For someone with a significant holding who wants to remove every layer of third-party trust from their Bitcoin setup, running a node is worth doing. What does it actually take to run one? Less than most people assume. The Bitcoin core software is free and open source. It runs on a standard computer. The main requirements are storage space, currently around 600 to 700 gigabytes for the full blockchain, a decent internet connection for syncing, and the willingness to leave the software running consistently. Many people run nodes on dedicated small devices like a Raspberry Pi, which costs around $70 to $100 and can run quietly in the background without using your main computer. Others run it on an old laptop they no longer use for anything else. The setup takes a few hours for the initial sync, and then relatively little attention after that. Here's the thing worth sitting with before we wrap up. You do not need to run a node to own Bitcoin. You do not need to run a node to use Bitcoin securely. But understanding what nodes do tells you something that most Bitcoin explanations never quite say out loud. Bitcoin's rules are not maintained by a company or a government or a person. They are maintained by thousands of ordinary computers, run by ordinary people. each independently checking the same thing. That is not a feature, that is the foundation. All right, let's lock this in. A Bitcoin node is a computer running the Bitcoin software that holds a complete copy of the blockchain and independently verifies every transaction and block against the protocol rules. Nodes are how Bitcoin enforces its own rules without any central authority. Thousands of them running simultaneously, each independently checking the same things, means no single miner or organization can break the rules without the entire network rejecting them. Nodes and miners are different. Miners add blocks. Nodes verify them. Do you need to run one as a beginner? Probably not yet. Most beginners use wallet infrastructure that handles this for them. Running your own node becomes meaningful when you want to verify your own transactions without trusting any third party. It requires around 600 to 700 gigabytes of storage, a decent connection, and free software. Many people run one on a small dedicated device. Understanding what nodes do is more important right now than running one. If you want to understand what miners actually do and how they relate to the broader Bitcoin network, the mining video covers that in full. The two topics connect directly, and that video will make this one click even more clearly. Watch that next. Stack smart, stay curious. See you in the next stack.